Hi, I'm Melissa Christie. I'm the person behind PCOS Pathways, and I'm creating the 2019 PCOS Diary, which is a day planner designed specifically to help women with PCOS manage their journey. This video today is about my story of having a miscarriage as a woman with PCOS, and the really important piece of medical information that I learnt from going through that. And I think that this is important for any woman with PCOS who is trying to conceive or is in their first trimester of pregnancy. So when I got pregnant with our first child, it was in 2015, and my husband and I were trekking in the Himalayas in Nepal at the time. It was it was the most amazing time of my life. And I conceived the baby, or we conceived the baby off the back of using traditional Chinese medicine, using herbs to regulate my cycle, which worked really well for me. And we were really lucky, and we conceived right away. And it was magical. Um, we were in the most incredible place in the world. We were so happy. We were so healthy. It was just this wonderful experience. And then this little baby came into our lives. And we didn't find out for a little while, but the day after we had conceived the baby, the earthquake hit in Nepal, and we went through this whole, ordeal in Nepal, not knowing I was pregnant. But when we did find out that I was pregnant, it was almost extra special, because we had just been through this amazing journey with this little baby on board. So I ended up being in India for the first trimester, and I had morning sickness really bad. I couldn't eat anything. I was sick constantly, and I was hungry, but there was just nothing I could eat. And in hindsight, I had that condition, I don't even know what it's called, where you really are sick and you should probably be in a hospital on a drip. But I didn't realize I had that, because I didn't realize that I was losing weight. I felt really fat, so I just thought I was getting fatter and fatter, but I really wasn't. I was losing quite a lot of weight. So I was really sick, and it was really hard. We were in this little chalet in the mountains in India, in this tiny village, and we had done it that way because we wanted to be able to cook our own food. So we wanted to have a kitchen, and so we shacked up in this little cabin, but there was just no food that I was craving available. The only foods I wanted to eat were cheese, bacon, and pesto pasta, and I couldn't get any of it. So eventually we ended up moving on, but at the 12-week mark, we went to get, your standard 12-week ultrasound, and that's where we found out that our baby wasn't alive anymore, and that the baby had stopped growing at about 9.5 weeks. It was devastating. It was the worst thing that had ever happened to us. We didn't take it well at all. I think I have some friends who've had miscarriages, and some of them who don't have PCOS, and some of them took a lot of, solace in the fact that it's natural. Miscarriages are natural. That it can happen to anyone, and it's natural selection. And I really wanted to be able to feel that way, but because I have PCOS, there were so many added layers of fear and grief, because I didn't know that I would ever be able to get pregnant again. And because if I did get pregnant, I have an almost double the chance of having a miscarriage as compared to a woman without PCOS. So there was so much fear attached to it. This baby was like this little miracle baby that we lost. And yeah, we just didn't take it well. It was a really hard time for us. And we were in India, which had its own layers of intensity, and I ended up having a DNC to remove the baby, and it didn't go entirely well. There was still some tissue remaining, and it went on this whole health journey after that. But what I want to talk about in this video is what I learnt in India. I saw quite a few doctors in India, and what they told me, very frankly, was that I should not have lost this baby, because I should have been having my progesterone levels checked every week during the pregnancy as a woman with PCOS. They said that progesterone is like the life hormone, and in the first trimester the mother is responsible for producing the progesterone, and after that the baby actually takes over the production of the progesterone. So women with PCOS often have a hard time producing progesterone anyway, even when they're not pregnant. I'm one of these women. So when it comes to being pregnant, it's really, really important as a woman with PCOS to have your progesterone checked every week, and if it's low, to have it supplemented, which is very easy to do, and it's natural. It perfectly mimics our own natural progesterone. There's nothing synthetic about it. But I did not know this. I had always been told that the hard part is getting pregnant when you have PCOS. But once you're pregnant, like, the hard part is over. So once I got pregnant, I did not even think to have anybody even look at me when it comes to any of this. So it was a really big lesson for me. It actually gave me hope, because I thought, well, that could be the reason I lost the baby. And so when I get pregnant again, that's not going to happen. Like, I'm going to have my progesterone checked and supplemented if need be. So once we eventually got back to Australia and I finally healed, which took months because I had to get that remaining tissue out, and I wanted to do that naturally rather than have another surgery. And yeah, so once we got back to Australia, I wanted to find a doctor straight away who could help me, who would support me once I got pregnant by testing my progesterone weekly and supplementing it. It was really hard. The first doctor that I went to laughed at me and told me that the baby is responsible for producing progesterone in the first trimester, not the mother. That's not true. But as a general practitioner, it was just something she didn't know. So I ended up going to see another GP who didn't laugh at me. He was lovely, but he had no idea what I was talking about. And when I asked him, well, why don't we just test my progesterone once I get... Oh, actually, I was pregnant at this point, once I saw him. Why don't we just test my progesterone weekly and supplement it if it's low? And he said that he couldn't do that because it went against standard medical practice in Australia to supplement during pregnancy. But he was so understanding of my situation and referred me to a gynecologist. And the gynecologist instantly knew what I was talking about and immediately was testing me, and I did need supplementation, which he happily enabled me to do. And I'm now the mother of a 1-year-old, and it's the best. But I just really want women with PCOS to know that if you're trying to conceive or if you're in the first trimester, find a doctor who will test your progesterone regularly. I would say weekly, but whatever you feel, and supplement it if necessary, because it could save your baby's life. And there is medical research that supports these concepts. It's not just an idea or anything. It really is a thing. And the fact that GPs don't necessarily know about it, I mean, it's a real shame, because on one hand, they can't know everything, and I totally get that and I respect that. But on the other hand, women are losing babies because of it, and it is a small piece of information and a really important piece of information. So, I mean, I just think standard medical practice in Australia should change. But I also just think, as women with PCOS, let's all just know this and empower ourselves with that knowledge. And if you have any questions about this or about my story, you can comment or send me a message or an email, pcospathways@gmail.com, or you can check out my website, www.pcospathways.com, and you can also join my mailing list there.